Hello, welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be doing a Josh Pate inspired segment here, some what ifs. Now I know he does them all the time. I just have been thinking about a few. I've submitted a few myself. They've not been read yet, unfortunately, because they would be way too good. But I have, I think, about 8 or 9 here that I'm going to be doing in this video. And we'll start off with number 1, the one that pertains most to my team. What if Michigan has a balanced offense? What does that mean? Would it be a good thing is the first question I have to say as a follow-up. You know, obviously Michigan's run the ball like nobody's business recently with the best running back duo, you know, we've seen a very long time with Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, 1-2, thunder and lightning punch. And they've done a really good job, obviously. And it's gotten Michigan to the best 2 seasons we've had in damn near 20 years, pretty much my entire life, right? So it's like, okay, if we start letting JJ throw the ball more, what does that mean? Does that mean he's more prepared, or does that mean we'll get more of the pick sixes in TCU? I think it's the prior, but I could see people saying the latter. And obviously, it's a what if, so we don't know. I'm going to run with a thing that's going to be a good thing. You know, would JJ end up in New York City? I know I made a video on the channel earlier about him potentially finding a way out there. Do I fully believe that? Of course not. But does it mean Michigan finally wins a playoff game? I think the answer would be yes if we have a balanced offense. You know, it would mean people would have to respect the throw, which means it'd be easy for us to run as well. And would that mean Harbaugh stays? Again, I know it's kind of a big question with Harbaugh, and I think it's if we win the national championship, he's gone. But if we sort of get more of a balanced offense, that means Bryce Underwood might come commit, keep Jaden Davis in check, have him, you know, sign on the dotted line, and I think we go forward from there. So I think it would be a really interesting thing. And I think if there is a balanced offense, it'd be really good for Michigan. Keeping it in the Big Ten East for the next 2, actually. Number 1 is, what if Ohio State doesn't have a solid quarterback? And I'm just going to do like solid just being game manager, right? Let's just say like a Cade McNamara type, if at best, right? They're replacing 3 offensive linemen, right? Their tackles and their center. Their center got drafted, Luke Whippler, and then DeJuan Jones and Paris Johnson Jr., right? Those 3, and actually in reverse order there. And they have a very unbelievable wide receiver and running back room for sure, right? Running back room not nearly as good, but receiver room is unbelievable. So he's got a really good supporting cast. If the linemen, the 2 guards are good, right? But you're replacing 3 out of 5 linemen, especially the 2 tackles. That's tough. So you're going to probably run the ball a bit more than you want it. So I don't know if you even need that good of a quarterback. But obviously the big question for Ohio State's success overall is what about the defense? Has the defense improved? If the defense does not improve and they have a worse quarterback, this is a 3-loss team, potentially, right? 2 losses, probably guaranteed. 3 losses if the defense is just as bad and the quarterback hasn't been figured out. So that's the biggest what if, is I almost answer my own question with another question. Well, what's the defense? If the defense is back to traditional Ohio State, you could probably squeak by most teams. You could probably get in a dogfight with Michigan, and you'd be in the same spot as last year. So it's hard to see. It really is hard to see. Obviously, that's why we play the games. Up next, for Penn State this time, what if Drew Allar is him? Now, obviously, that's the new lingo, but what if he's really good? What does that mean? Does that mean they win a playoff game? Does it mean they go to the playoffs? Does it mean they beat Michigan, beat Ohio State? Does it mean James Franklin finally gets out of his own way? Obviously he's kind of hindered the team many times, going for it a ton against Ohio State, being stupid and having dumb game time decisions. Does that fix it? Does the quarterback being that good make it so he doesn't have to make those decisions, right? If that's the case, the roster is ready for him. You got a great offensive line, a really good defense, unbelievable running back duo, and you got Dante Cephas, who's probably the second best receiver in the conference. I'll die on that hill. I think that's what you're going to do, and I think it'll help. And obviously, Allar has an extra revenge tour against the state that didn't recruit him, Ohio State, right? Didn't recruit him. He's an Ohio kid, gets his get back against those guys. It's a pretty good story. Obviously, I would still think they're going to lose to Michigan because I'm a biased Michigan fan, but if Allar is that good, that's a little scary, man. Playing him on the road with a good quarterback, I could see something happening there. Up next, we've got Joe Milton. What if he's as good as he's hyped? What does that mean? Like, people are saying that he's going to walk in and be the same or even better than Hendon Hooker because he's more athletically gifted for sure, but Hendon was such a cerebral quarterback. I don't know if Joe Milton's got that same, supercomputer of a brain that Hooker clearly had and was able to analyze that offense. But let's just say he does for the sake of the what if. What happens? Does Tennessee beat Georgia? Does Tennessee beat Bama again? Do they do both, right? they do both, what happens? Obviously, you're going to go to the playoff. Are they the number one team in the country? That resume would be crazy, beating Georgia and Bama. Would Tennessee be number one in the country? Could that be a real possibility this season? If Joe Milton is what the media says, I think it could be. If they win the conference, could they win the national championship? Is their defense up to scruff enough where they cannot be like a USC light? It's up for us to see. We'll find out come game time, obviously. But I think it could be very interesting to see because, again, they've got okay receivers. Their running backs are better than they were last year. They've got another year under their belt. They lost, again, their top two receivers. So is Squirrel White able to step up for it? Is the transfer Dante Thornton, is he good enough? Probably. Do you need to be even that elite in this system with those receivers? Maybe not, but more importantly, is the O-line getting replaced? Darnell White, I mean, he was really good. And people are acting like you can just replace the top 10 tackle. Hey, by all means, man. And not all of us are Joe Moore winners like myself. So I think they could do it. I think you could see Tennessee win both games. I really do. I know it's crazy, but I could see it. Now, the next one we have here is, what if Texas is in fact back? I'll do horns up for that one. Well, what does back even mean? I assume back means winning the conference, beating Bama. There's a different thresholds to it. I have 3 thresholds right here. Number 1, Texas is back if they beat Bama. Okay. How do you do that? You can outskill them probably. I mean, you've got a better quarterback and better receivers. They have a better running back in pretty much every other position. Maybe your O-line is just as good, but probably not. But can Quinn Ewers and Xavier Worthy and Donnie Mitchell just do their thing and impose their will and game wreck on them? If so, that's how they do it. If not even, I guess the next step you could say is if they don't even beat Bama, can they win the conference? Yeah, I think Texas is back if they win the Big 12. What if they make the playoff? What if all these things happen? They're undefeated, kind of like Tennessee. They're undefeated going into the playoff. I mean, Texas is back then. I mean, I think Texas is back if they're ranked in the top 5. If Texas is in the playoff graphic, they're back. That's just my threshold. But for the fans and the diehards, this is the best roster they've had in a long time. This is the last year you're not in the SEC for the foreseeable future. Is it put up or shut up time? Maybe. I mean, we'll see if Sark can finally do it. And how would this set them up going into 2024 if they're back, if they win the conference? It would help recruiting, flip some guys there. I mean, everyone wants to play for Texas. They got a lot of money going into the SEC, and now they got success on the field. It's a pretty good trifecta out there. Up next, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more. This is the 4th last one. What if USC has a defense this year? And not even like an average defense. They have an above average defense. How far will they go? Will they win the conference? I would imagine. Would they make the playoff? Again, I would imagine. Does Lincoln Riley finally win a playoff game? Does he even win a national championship? I mean, that offense is unbelievable. And if they had like an okay defense last year, they could tackle it all. They would have been in the playoff. And they would have played Georgia. Would they have probably beaten them? I would imagine that would be an absolute no. But it would have been a close game. And we saw, that they ran a track meet against Ohio State. And obviously Ohio State didn't have the greatest of defense, but it's 3 times as good as USC's. So we could see how that would work potentially, but they've obviously got the best player in college football in Caleb Williams, and I think that if we see that level of success again with a good defense, the ceiling is the roof, and I think that they can win a national championship. As crazy as it sounds. Up next, what if Sam Hartman wins the Heisman? Now, I know I've been talking about this, and there's a little bit. I kind of get into this with Michael Cozy, one of my good guys, on Ohio State coming out soon in a video probably this weekend. But it's like, who is he throwing to? Well, if he wins the Heisman, that's not a question I have to answer. How far would they go? Do they beat Ohio State? Probably. Do they make the playoff? Probably. Is Marcus Freeman Coach of the Year because of this? Yes. Is Tommy Rees basically on suicide watch for leaving a potential Heisman-level candidate guy that he helped get there and then leave? And now he's over at Bama with a potentially horrible quarterback situation? Probably. Would that help, Notre Dame maybe join a conference? I almost think it'd be the opposite. If they win a Heisman in this NIL era in the 14 playoff and make the 14 playoff again twice, which is a lot more than a lot of teams, as independents, it almost is like, hey, look, we can do it. We are right. We don't need anyone else. So that'd be nuts. Getting into the final 2 ones, we've got SEC ones here. I know we did one earlier with Tennessee, but these are the big boys. Let's be honest here. What if Georgia misses the playoff? Now, I know this is crazy because they're the best team in the history of football, according to teams and according to people, but what if this 2-year run was just a flash in the pan and they finally can't reload after reloading generational draft classes the last 2 years? And what if Stetson Bennett is a lot better than people thought? And losing him and Donnie Mitchell and a few other guys and a bunch of the draft picks, clearly, the defense doesn't step up. The defensive front isn't as good. Obviously, Carson Beck comes in. You lose your coordinator on offense. Is that enough to screw you guys over potentially? I think it might be. Would I bet on it? Absolutely not. They're minus money to win the conference for a reason. I'm trying to think last time an SEC team was minus money to win the conference. Probably Bama, but usually there's always someone else there, a little threat. But I don't know, man. It would be crazy to see. Their fan base would have to remember what football was before 2 years ago. I know it's rich coming from a Michigan fan like myself, but it'd be nuts. And I think if this happens, this next one's pretty likely. What if Alabama wins it all? Is Saban back on top of Kirby? Probably. Does Saban retire on top? I could see it. I think he'd be a really good college football playoff commissioner and kind of get this sport back in order. Was their quarterback play elite? I doubt it, but if you're winning a national championship, it's probably going to be above average at least. I mean, Mac Jones, people crap on him all the time, but he was an above average quarterback to say the least. I mean, he was an Heisman finalist. So if you have that level of quarterback player where it's like really good, but not him level, if you could use the new lingo, and your defense is going to be elite. Your offensive line's great. Jace McClellan is one of my favorite players in the country. If you get some receivers to step up, Kobe Prentice and some of those guys. Again, I obviously could see it. Bama's the second favorite for a reason. It wouldn't be a crazy stretch, but it oddly would feel like a crazy upset. I know it's nuts saying that Alabama is a huge underdog in any game or any season, but I know that they're second favorite, but it just seems like no one's talking about them, which is probably exactly where Saban wants to be. The only thing we're talking about is who's our quarterback, and my rebuttal to that would be, does it matter? Probably not. But that's my attempt at being Josh Pate. And I don't have the Chalice of Supremacy or a t-shirt on, but that's just what I am. So subscribe to Josh Pate. Obviously, subscribe to Late Kick. I'll make sure to put a link in the description. And sub to my channel. We're getting close to 900 subscribers. That's the goal. Hopefully by kickoff, I would imagine it'd be pretty tough to do so. And by kickoff, I mean September 2nd. But the goal is to end the college football season at 1,000 subs, which I believe we're above track to do. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And comment down below what you think. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.